When someone ignores you, it can sting deeply, as though a part of you is being rejected or cast aside. However, this experience holds a deeper significance if we choose to view it as an opportunity for self-reflection. Often, when we feel hurt by the actions or indifference of others, it is a signal to turn our gaze inward. We may instinctively want to focus on the behavior of the person who is ignoring us, but this external focus only prolongs the pain. Instead, the more powerful response is to use the situation as a mirror, reflecting back to us aspects of our own thoughts, beliefs, and expectations. Self-reflection is not about blaming ourselves or seeking to explain the actions of others. It is about understanding the internal factors that led to our emotional response. In these moments of hurt, we are often faced with the opportunity to discover where we may be attached to external validation or approval. Our value, our sense of being seen and heard, may be too closely tied to how others treat us. This attachment to external recognition can leave us vulnerable, as we allow someone else's behavior to define how we feel about ourselves. When we are ignored, it brings into focus our internal beliefs about our worthiness. We might ask ourselves, why does their disregard cause us pain? Is it because we secretly doubt our own value and we are relying on others to affirm it? Or do we fear that we are invisible, that we don't matter in the grand scheme of things? The pain we feel from being ignored is often an indicator that our own sense of self-worth needs to be examined and strengthened. It is a call to recognize that our value is not dependent on anyone else's acknowledgement, but rather on the love and acceptance we give ourselves. Self-reflection allows us to uncover the beliefs that we hold about ourselves, often unconscious ones, that may be influencing our reactions to the world around us. If we are caught in the belief that we need others to notice us in order to feel significant, we may spend our lives chasing external validation. This reliance on others for our sense of importance leads to a cycle of pain and disappointment because no external source can ever fully fulfill our need for self-acceptance. True validation must come from within. The process of self-reflection also allows us to recognize patterns in our behavior. If we find ourselves repeatedly hurt by others ignoring us, it might be a sign that we are unconsciously attracting these situations because of how we feel about ourselves. Perhaps we are not asserting ourselves clearly, or maybe we are allowing others to take us for granted. By reflecting on these patterns, we can begin to identify areas where we need to strengthen our boundaries or where we need to shift our expectations. In moments of being ignored, we are called to go beyond surface-level pain and look deeper into our emotional landscape. The hurt we feel is not a random occurrence. It is a mirror revealing to us where we may be giving away our power or where we need to heal within ourselves. By acknowledging these feelings and reflecting on their source, we empower ourselves to change the way we perceive both our worth and our relationship to others. The external world we experience is a direct reflection of our internal state. This powerful idea suggests that everything we encounter, every interaction and every event that unfolds in our lives is a mirror of our subconscious beliefs, thoughts, and emotions. When someone ignores us, the feeling of being overlooked or unseen may not simply be a random act, but a direct manifestation of how we perceive ourselves or how we believe we should be treated by others. Our internal world, shaped by our past experiences, self-perceptions, and emotional responses, constantly influences the reality we create around us. Our relationships with others in particular are often reflections of how we view ourselves. If we find ourselves frequently ignored or dismissed by others, it may be a signal that we hold beliefs that we are not worthy of attention or respect. These beliefs can be deeply ingrained, sometimes from childhood experiences where we may have been made to feel less than, or from societal conditioning that tells us our value is only tied to what we do or how we look. These beliefs are not always conscious, but they can drive the way we expect others to treat us. When our internal self-worth is diminished or distorted, it manifests as external disregard or neglect from others. The law of attraction, the principle that states we attract experiences and people who resonate with our internal state, further illuminates this idea. If we harbor negative beliefs about ourselves, such as feeling unimportant, unnoticed, or unlovable, we unknowingly attract situations and individuals who reflect those beliefs back to us. In this way, being ignored by someone is not merely an isolated incident, but part of a broader pattern of how we might be viewing our own value and the world around us. When we operate from a place of feeling unworthy or invisible, we unconsciously attract circumstances that reinforce that perception, making it seem as though we are always being overlooked. On the other hand, when we cultivate a strong sense of self-worth and inner confidence, we shift the energy we project into the world. Our beliefs about our value shape how others perceive us. When we believe we are deserving of love, respect, and attention, we begin to manifest relationships and experiences that align with that belief. People start to treat us with the kindness and respect we hold for ourselves. The key, then, is to change the inner dialogue and self-concept, as this will ripple outward and alter the way the external world responds to us. The reality we experience can only shift when we begin to recognize that it is our perceptions and beliefs that are shaping it. If we are constantly feeling ignored or dismissed, we must first examine the internal narratives that are contributing to this experience. The inner work of self-awareness is crucial in unraveling these beliefs. It requires honesty and introspection to see where we may have unintentionally reinforced a belief in our own invisibility or lack of importance. The moment we start to change our internal self-talk and replace limiting beliefs with affirmations of worth and visibility, the external world begins to mirror these shifts. In this process, it is important to understand that our external reality is not inherently negative or out of our control. It is a reflection of our deepest beliefs and patterns. Thus, when we are ignored, it is not a condemnation of our worth, but a signpost to a deeper understanding of how we view ourselves and how that view is shaping our interactions with the world. Every moment of being ignored is an invitation to reassess and realign our internal beliefs with the reality we wish to create. When we experience the pain of being ignored, it can often feel like a deep personal rejection, as if we are not seen or valued by the world around us. But rather than focusing on the actions of others, this experience can be seen as a call to elevate our self-love. The hurt we feel is not a reflection of our worth, but an invitation to look inward and strengthen the most important relationship we will ever have, the one with ourselves. This moment of pain, though challenging, can serve as a powerful reminder that the love we seek from others must first be cultivated from within. Self-love is not about arrogance or self-centeredness. It is about recognizing our inherent worth, acknowledging our unique qualities, and honoring our own needs and desires. When we seek validation from others, we are often looking to fill an internal void that only our own love and acceptance can heal. If we do not love ourselves fully, we leave space for doubt, insecurity, and the belief that we need others to affirm our value. This dependency on external validation creates vulnerability and leads to disappointment when others do not meet our expectations. When we are ignored, it is a moment that highlights the need for a shift in how we view and treat ourselves. In order to elevate self-love, we must first recognize the areas where we have been neglecting ourselves. Often we ignore our own needs or dismiss our feelings in favor of pleasing others or gaining their approval. We may suppress our desires, pretending that they don't matter or that our happiness is secondary to others' needs. This imbalance can leave us feeling depleted and unimportant, as though we are giving more than we are receiving. When we are ignored, it is a sign that we need to reconnect with ourselves and learn to prioritize our own well-being. Elevating self-love involves setting healthy boundaries. When we love ourselves, we no longer tolerate behaviors that undermine our sense of self-worth. We stop seeking external approval at the cost of our own peace and happiness. We begin to assert our needs and express our desires with confidence, without fear of rejection or judgment. Self-love requires that we accept ourselves, flaws and all, without seeking perfection or trying to meet impossible standards. It's about embracing who we are right now in this moment and recognizing that we are enough just as we are. Another aspect of elevating self-love is practicing self-compassion. When we are ignored, it is easy to spiral into negative self-talk, questioning our value and worth. But self-love calls for kindness, especially in moments of struggle. Instead of criticizing ourselves for not being good enough, we must respond with understanding and patience. We must forgive ourselves for past mistakes and acknowledge that our imperfections do not diminish our value. By treating ourselves with the same love and care we would offer a close friend, we begin to heal and reinforce our sense of worth. In addition, elevating self-love means taking the time to nourish ourselves, physically, emotionally, and mentally. It is about giving ourselves the space to rest, reflect, and recharge. Self-love requires us to honor our needs and desires, to nurture our bodies with healthy food, rest, and exercise, and to protect our emotional well-being by surrounding ourselves with supportive and loving people. The more we take care of ourselves, the less we depend on others to fill that role. Ultimately, the experience of being ignored is not a condemnation of who we are. It is an opportunity to deepen our relationship with ourselves and to strengthen the foundation of self-love. When we elevate our self-love, we create a magnetic energy that draws in the respect, attention, and love we deserve. The more we value ourselves, the less we rely on others for validation. And as we raise our own vibration through self-love, we begin to attract relationships that mirror that same respect and affection. The power of detachment is often misunderstood as a form of indifference or lack of care, but in reality, it is one of the most liberating and empowering practices we can adopt. Detachment does not mean that we stop caring about the people or experiences in our lives. Rather, it means we release our attachment to specific outcomes and the need for others to behave in ways that meet our expectations. In the context of being ignored, detachment becomes a profound tool for personal growth and emotional freedom. When we can detach from the need for validation or attention from others, we reclaim our power and preserve our inner peace. When we become attached to how others treat us, especially when we seek their approval or attention, we place our happiness in their hands. This attachment creates a vulnerability as we are constantly reliant on their behavior to feel validated or worthy. When we are ignored, it can feel like a rejection of our entire being. But detachment teaches us that how others treat us is not a reflection of our value. It is a sign that we must reconnect with ourselves and let go of the need for others to confirm our worth. Instead of looking outside ourselves for validation, we begin to look inward and trust that we are whole, complete, and deserving of love, regardless of how others may act. The practice of detachment begins with recognizing that we cannot control the behavior or actions of others. Whether they choose to engage with us or ignore us, their actions are their own and are shaped by their own thoughts, beliefs, and emotions. We cannot dictate how they perceive or treat us, just as we cannot control external circumstances. When we are ignored, it is important to remember that it is not a personal attack or a reflection of our worth. The more we accept that we cannot control the actions of others, the less we take their behavior to heart, and the more we free ourselves from unnecessary suffering. Detachment also involves releasing the need for specific outcomes. We often build up expectations about how things should unfold or how people should respond to us. When those expectations are not met, it can lead to feelings of disappointment, hurt, and frustration. Detachment teaches us to release these expectations and to remain open to whatever unfolds. Instead of attaching our happiness to a particular response or result, we learn to find contentment in the present moment, independent of external circumstances. We begin to trust that everything happens for a reason and that we are fully capable of handling whatever comes our way. In moments of being ignored, detachment helps us create emotional space between ourselves and the external situation. Rather than reacting with anger, sadness, or frustration, we can respond with a sense of calm and understanding. We recognize that being ignored is not a reflection of who we are, but simply a situation that does not align with our desires. By detaching from the emotional charge of the situation, we can maintain our peace and avoid getting caught in a cycle of negative emotions. This emotional space allows us to see the situation from a higher perspective, where we are no longer defined by how others choose to interact with us. The power of detachment also lies in its ability to protect our energy. When we are attached to the actions or opinions of others, we give away our energy and power. We become entangled in their reactions and allow them to dictate how we feel. By practicing detachment, we create boundaries that preserve our emotional well-being. We stop giving away our peace and instead focus on cultivating our own sense of self-worth. We recognize that we are not dependent on anyone's approval to feel complete, and that our sense of self is not defined by external circumstances. Detachment then is not about withdrawing from life or becoming emotionally distant. It is about freeing ourselves from the need for validation and control. It is about trusting ourselves, trusting the process, and trusting that everything, including moments of being ignored, is part of a larger journey of growth and self-discovery. By letting go of attachment, we create the space for deeper self-love, inner peace, and emotional freedom. When we are ignored by others, it often serves as a powerful reminder of the importance of boundaries and respect in our relationships. The feeling of being overlooked or dismissed can be painful, but it also provides an opportunity to reflect on how we set and maintain boundaries, both with others and within ourselves. Boundaries are the invisible lines we draw to protect our emotional, mental, and physical well-being. They define what we are willing to tolerate and what we are not, and they are essential in fostering healthy and respectful relationships. Being ignored can be a signal that we have not clearly communicated our needs or boundaries, or that we have allowed others to cross those boundaries without consequence. It's easy to fall into the trap of wanting to please others or avoid conflict, especially when we desire connection or approval. However, when we neglect our boundaries for the sake of others, we risk losing sight of our own needs and self-respect. The hurt we feel when we are ignored is the sign that we may have allowed someone else's behavior to take precedence over our own well-being, and it's a lesson to reinforce the importance of self-respect. Boundaries are not just about keeping others out. They are about creating a space where we can be ourselves, fully and authentically. They help us communicate to others what is acceptable and what is not, and they enable us to protect our emotional energy. When we experience being ignored, it is often because we have allowed others to disregard our feelings or our time. This could be due to a lack of clear communication or an unwillingness to assert ourselves. In these situations, being ignored becomes a powerful lesson in the necessity of asserting our boundaries and ensuring that we are treated with respect. The process of setting boundaries requires self-awareness and self-empowerment. We must first understand what we need and what we are willing to accept from others. This means being clear with ourselves about what behaviors are acceptable and what behaviors are not. When we are ignored, it's important to ask ourselves whether we have communicated our need for attention or respect clearly and assertively. Often we expect others to intuitively understand our needs, but clear communication is key to setting healthy boundaries. Respect is an essential component of boundaries. If we are not receiving the respect we deserve, it's crucial to examine the dynamics of the relationship and decide whether it aligns with our values. We must recognize that we deserve to be treated with kindness, attention, and care, and that it's not our responsibility to tolerate disregard or neglect. When we allow others to ignore us or dismiss our needs, we are teaching them that it is acceptable to treat us in this way. Setting boundaries is not about controlling others. It is about teaching them how to treat us with respect and dignity. Respect also involves honoring our own boundaries. When we are ignored, it's important to honor our own feelings rather than suppress them. It is easy to dismiss our own emotional needs in favor of keeping the peace or avoid discomfort. However, true respect begins with acknowledging our own worth and standing firm in our needs. If someone is consistently ignoring us or treating us poorly, it is a clear sign that we need to enforce our boundaries and decide what level of interaction we are willing to tolerate. This may involve taking a step back, reevaluating the relationship, or having a conversation about how we wish to be treated. In the process of setting boundaries, it's also important to recognize that we cannot control the actions of others. Boundaries are not about controlling other people's behavior, but about protecting ourselves and teaching others how to treat us. When we are ignored, we must acknowledge that the other person's actions are a reflection of their own choices, not a reflection of our worth. By setting clear boundaries, we can create an environment where respect is mutual and where we are treated in alignment with our values. We learn that respect begins with ourselves and that we are responsible for ensuring that our boundaries are honored. Manifesting connection through conscious awareness involves harnessing the power of our thoughts, feelings, and beliefs to create the relationships and interactions we desire in life. When we experience being ignored, it often triggers feelings of isolation and disconnection. However, rather than seeing this as a negative experience, we can view it as an opportunity to realign our internal world with the connections we wish to attract. Conscious awareness is the practice of becoming mindful of our inner state, acknowledging how our thoughts and emotions shape our external reality, and actively choosing to cultivate the type of relationships we desire. At the heart of manifesting connection is the recognition that we are all interconnected. Everything we experience, including our interactions with others, is shaped by the energy we put out into the world. If we feel ignored or disconnected, it may be an indication that we are not fully attuned to the energy we are radiating. Our external reality is a direct reflection of our internal state. And when we feel isolated or overlooked, it may be because we are not consciously aligning with the energy of connection and love. Manifesting connection requires us to examine our thoughts and beliefs about relationships, especially those that may be rooted in past experiences or fears. One of the key components of manifesting connection is self-awareness. This means paying attention to our thoughts and emotions, especially in moments when we feel disconnected or ignored. Often, our subconscious beliefs about our worth and our place in the world influence how we interact with others. If we believe that we are unworthy of attention or love, we may unknowingly create distance between ourselves and others, even when we desire connection. These limiting beliefs can manifest as behaviors or energy that push people away, whether through self-doubt, insecurity, or fear of rejection. Conscious awareness involves recognizing these patterns and choosing to change them. By becoming aware of how our thoughts and emotions influence our interactions, we can begin to shift our energy toward openness and connection. Instead of focusing on the negative experience of being ignored, we can redirect our focus to the type of relationship we wish to manifest. This requires us to actively visualize and feel the connection we desire, as if it is already happening. When we align our thoughts and feelings with the energy of connection, we send a powerful signal to the universe that we are ready to receive it. In addition to shifting our internal energy, manifesting connection through conscious awareness involves being present and open in our interactions with others. When we are aware of the energy we are bringing into a conversation or relationship, we can adjust our approach to create the space for meaningful connection. This means being fully present with others, listening attentively, and engaging in conversations with genuine interest and openness. When we are present in our interactions, we naturally attract more authentic and fulfilling connections. Another important aspect of manifesting connection is understanding the role of boundaries. While we want to attract connection, it is equally important to protect our energy and ensure that the connections we manifest are aligned with our values. By being conscious of our boundaries, we ensure that we are not giving away our energy to relationships or interactions that are not serving us. Healthy boundaries create space for mutual respect, love, and connection, and they allow us to manifest relationships that are supportive and nurturing. The process of manifesting connection also involves releasing attachment to specific outcomes or people. When we become too fixated on how we expect others to behave or on achieving a particular type of connection, we limit our ability to manifest the relationships we desire. By releasing attachment to outcomes, we open ourselves up to the infinite possibilities of connection that the universe has to offer. This allows us to be more open to new relationships and experiences without the pressure of trying to control or force connections that may not align with our highest good. Through conscious awareness, we can shift our energy, heal limiting beliefs, and manifest the connections we truly desire. By aligning our inner world with the energy of love and openness, we create the space for authentic and meaningful relationships to enter our lives. The more we focus on the positive connections we wish to create, the more we attract those experiences into our reality. In conclusion, being ignored can be a painful experience, but it holds the potential for profound personal growth. It serves as a reminder to turn inward, examine our beliefs, and elevate our self-worth. By practicing detachment, setting clear boundaries, and cultivating conscious awareness, we empower ourselves to create healthier, more meaningful connections. The way we perceive ourselves and our interactions with others shapes the reality we experience. Through reflection, self-love, and conscious effort, we can manifest relationships that align with our true desires, fostering a life filled with respect, love, and authentic connection.